Welcome to the Purposeful MD podcast. As a physician, you've sacrificed so much of your life for other people, your patients, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. What would it feel like to spend time doing what you enjoy and to live without guilt? I'm your host, Dr. Laura Sutton, a family physician, certified coach, and business owner. If you're a medical professional on a journey towards your most purposeful life, a life with more time and energy, and ultimately more joy, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Purposeful MD podcast. So happy to have you today. Dr. Judith Borger is our guest. Did I pronounce that right, Dr.?
Yes, it's Borger.
Okay.
It's Borger.
I wanted to make sure. Great. Let me just introduce you real quick. So Dr. Borger is a mom of three, a wife, a board-certified physician, successful business owner of both the Aesthetic Doctor and Concierge Medical Arts, which is a practice located in Fayetteville, North Carolina, offering full-spectrum non-surgical medical aesthetics centered on the individual patient and their experience and goals. And the Aesthetic Doctor, your other company, encompasses the top 5% global podcast, The Aesthetic Doctor, as well as courses, luxury retreats, life and business coaching. And I love your mission. Your mission is to help others create their most authentic and beautiful lives, to include their self-image and relationship to self, relationships with others, and their businesses. Your zone of genius is in seeing and believing infinite possibilities. Certified coach through Martha Beck's Wayfinder program. She attended medical school at the University of New England College of Osteopathic Medicine, completed ER residency at Michigan State University, and completed your fellowship at Duke, worked as an attending physician at Duke for 2 years, then a core faculty member at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center, and she continues to practice pediatric emergency medicine. Thank you so much for being here. It is so wonderful to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to talk to you and your listeners. So hi, everybody. I hope you're having a fabulous day today.
Yes, thank you. So we met in person at PIMD Con recently, about a month or so ago, and connected. And just really excited to talk with you and learn from you more. I've been following you and just really impressed with how you have really transformed your story, and so that it's now serving others in that way. And so tell us a little bit about how you got started and how everything in your life has led to this point right now.
Yes, absolutely. And I always love it because I have followed you for years as well and loved your work. And so it's really fun when like virtual friends become real life friends. And now we get to meet virtually again.
Yes.
Obviously there's a long and a short version of the story. In a nutshell, I think I did what maybe a lot of people do. We go through this whole like what I call like the rat race of like residency and medical. Well, first it starts with getting into medical school, right? And then residency. And at the time I chose emergency medicine, it was super competitive. And then of course, getting into a very competitive fellowship. And, we kind of do these things, and there's always like a next thing. And at least in our generation, I feel like there's sort of what's this promise of if you work for the medical system and you become a doctor, like your life will be fulfilling and you will have this great like career with autonomy and satisfaction and financial like stability, and you will do that till forever and you will never want more and you'll be happy and right into the sunset, right? And what instead I already found was, I found myself really unhappy, I think, in my fellowship already. And it was at Duke, and Duke is a lovely institution, but it is a very like high pressure academic situation where people can have been there like for 30 years and they're still worried about their next R1 grant. So I think my first pivot was after a couple of years to go into community medicine and teach more in community medicine. So I did that in total for a decade. But really what happened is that I got severely burnt out. I think it really came to a head after my second child, when again I was balancing trying to be a mom and then working in the ER and being faculty and working all these weird random crazy shifts and then being present for my kids. And I think at the time I had really sort of lost myself, right? And I went through really bad burnout. I was to the point of being passively suicidal, sort of feeling like the world would be better off without me. My kids would be better off without me. And I think for me, again, I had enough wherewithal to be like, oh, this is a really big problem that I'm having these thoughts. And I, initially reached out, and that's my first thing that I want to say to any listener that's feeling that, like, you don't have to feel that way, like, and I am a certified coach. I'm working on a counseling certification, but my first step was really to seek therapy and to start medication. And then I found coaching, right? And it's the thing of all three of them to always have that and truly coaching over the last, it's almost like 5 years to my first signing up to a coaching program. It's 5 years in January, and it has transformed my life because I feel like I'm an agent of my life now. It was really that I was going down this railroad track of what I thought society had sort of set up for doctors, right? And again, growing up in a very middle class professional household, that was also what I had been taught. The whole like, you get a good education and you get a job, and that's what you do, and you get your paychecks forever and you'll be happy, right? Because now and I'm sure lots of people can resonate with that, because now you're a doctor or you're a pharmacist or you're an accountant or you're doing, these things. And really, I think what coaching has helped me is not only to transform my relationship to myself, but to really feel like I am the creator of my own life, and I only am the creator of my own life. So, I have made little transitions throughout the years, and that's another point that I want to make. You know, People might see my life now and be like, damn, this is so far from where I want to be, but I didn't start there. The first thing I said was, you know what? I'm so much happier working with only children and not adults. These adults like don't give me as much choice. So the first transition I did was to say, look, right now I have a 50-50 job. I'm going to just make it 100% Pete's job. And I stayed at the same hospital for another 5 years, right? And then I let go of some of the committees that were sort of sucking my soul without a lot of return. But again, that was that people pleasing, right? That I didn't know about, that there was actually the choice to say no and that it would be okay and just to be like, no. And so I've made little and little changes, and now my life today looks completely different. And I think when people are new to coaching, I think of it almost like a map of your life. When we all got taught to read maps with the compass, like if you turn the map by 1 degree, in the end, your destination is so different. Or if we fly a plane and we turn it by 1 degree. So you don't have to blow up your entire life. Once you really change your relationship to self, change your self-talk and ask yourself, what do you want versus sort of this, like, I'm just on this track that my parents and society and everybody expects me to be because, whoa, I'm a doctor and, that's supposed to be enough. I've been able to change my whole life. I tremendously love entrepreneurship. I love not only being my own boss and being able to create and build my business, but I also love being the employer that I want to be. That's one of the things I'm most proud of. Like I just took my 6 members of my team on a Miraval retreat last week, and that I'm able to do those kind of things and that I'm able to continuously grow. And so we're all able to continuously grow, right? None of us, no matter how old or young, are stuck somewhere. There's always possibility. And like you said in my intro, I love the fact that we really all have this incredible infinite possibility, and that what Martha Beck calls the space of dreaming and scheming is my favorite phase of everybody's journey.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing all of that and so much of what you said that I want to go back to. And it's one thing that, well, you said it a couple times, and I think you said this resonates, and it absolutely resonates with me. You saw me nodding, and I know it resonates with a lot of our listeners too, is this notion that, well, once you become a doctor, then you've made it, right? And our roles as physicians is to practice medicine, get the paycheck, and, kind of be happy with it. And that's not the path for a lot of physicians. And this concept that once we get to that point, the arrival fallacy, right? We always tell ourselves, well, once I get to this point, then I'll be happy. And I think as on the physician journey, I imagine that you probably wanted to become a physician at a relatively young age. Am I correct in that? No?
No, I actually wanted to be a diplomat and travel the world.
Oh,
That was my
wow.
kid goal. And then I wanted to be in radio, which is probably why I now have a podcast, rediscovering all those things.
Right.
But really, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So after high school, I just sort of took off. That's what landed me in this country because I did not know what to do with my life. And I was a ski and snowboard instructor, I was a waitress, I was a nanny. And then there was a point that I was like, oh, I should actually do something with my life because I saw the people that sort of got trapped in the seasonal lifestyle I was in. And I just had this moment where I was like, okay, it's time to, get an education and like do something more meaningful with my life.
Mhm.
And I only knew I loved people and I loved working with people. And so through a series of trials and errors, I went to med school.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, any path to get there, right, is beautiful. Um, I think you probably still would agree that there's this notion of, okay, so we're on the pre-med path, whatever that looks like, and then we maybe tell ourselves, well, once I get to med school, everything's going to be great. And then, or once I get to my residency, and then once I get to my fellowship, like we kind of keep looking for
Oh
this
yeah, once you're locked in that path, you are in that
you're
mindset.
in that,
Like the
yes.
moment you decide I want to go to medical school, that is when it starts.
Right. Right. And then it's always a seeking something else. And then I know I felt this once I got into practice at the same time, around the same time my daughter was born, bought our house and kind of settled. There was really this sense for me that, okay, I was turning 30 around that time. I was like, is this what I'm going to be doing for the next 35 years? And that's really scary because we're so used to doing something different every 3 or 4 years in our life and meeting new people. And so, yeah, I think that resonates with a lot of folks, this sense of, okay, I'm a physician and now everybody tells me I've made it. And I think that can contribute, and I'm curious if you felt this too, can contribute to the sense of like, well, I should be happy, right? I've made it in the sense of society. I've got a stable job. I'm a doctor, and so why am I unhappy, and why is this not fulfilling for me? Did those
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
I think it totally resonates. And what I want to add to that is that, it's really like that, we call dirty pain that layers on top of it, right? Because I think again, you and I being coaches, and I obviously did a couple of things before I went to med school, so I had that point like later in life than you. But even, there's that I don't feel happy. I don't know that this is, especially in an ER, like, because you're not an entrepreneur, you're not a business owner, you don't co-own a practice. It's sort of like you're literally expected to just clock in and clock out for shifts, unless you want to be medical director, which I was like, I don't know, it seems like a lot of meetings. Once you're faculty, you're like, okay. So there was literally like nowhere to go. Like that job of an ER physician looks exactly the same the day that you get out of residency versus the day that they hand you your retirement cake, right? Except for there's supposed to be 30 years in between there, that you do the exact same thing. And so I guess what I wanted to say is that there's not that unhappiness and that doubt, but I think what hurts even more then is that we layer that shame on top of it, right? That what we call the dirty pain, the self-judgment, the like, wow, you know what? You make this much, you have a husband, you have children that you've wanted for so long, you have this house, you get to like save lives. And like, so on top of this, like questioning, I think what also I felt a lot then was that self-shame of like, why can you not just be happy with this? Does that resonate at all? That guilt, blame, and
Oh,
shame get
yeah.
layered then on top of the original emotions, so that feeling of unhappiness just gets magnified, because
Yeah.
not only do we have the feeling of questioning unhappiness, but now we layer the shame and blame and on top of it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then that, at least for me, that made me really withdraw and kind of go inward. And it makes it hard to reach out for help because when we're feeling that shame and that guilt, then we feel like, well, why, why am I feeling like this? Nobody else feels this way. It can make us feel very alone in our life. And at least it did that. It made me feel very alone. And so it kind of just reinforces that trying to solve it on our own, do it ourselves, not reaching out for help. And you mentioned multiple modalities that have helped you in your life. You said therapy, medication, coaching, and that each of those has had it sounds like each of those has had its own had its own role in your healing and for you becoming the amazing business owner that you are right now. And so I think, and you said it also as well, is don't do this alone, right? Reach out for help, whether that's a mentor, a coach, a physician, of somebody that is in your corner, because somebody is in your corner. Reach out for help, and you don't have to feel this way. It doesn't have to be like this.
And I also want to normalize the fact that, whether your mental health struggles are permanent or they're situational, or, I always felt like my worst postpartum. Um, there is so much help and it will not negatively affect your career.
Mm.
I think that's also a stigma that's there among physicians,
Yeah.
uh, that, going on a low dose SSRI or being in therapy or seeing a psychiatrist you won't get a medical license and all of that stuff. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but at least a lot of the states have now changed this to basically say in a way that it's impairing your ability to treat patients. So, and really honestly, like, as a society, we should not want broken societal doctors.
Right. Right. We need our physicians to be at the top of their game. We need our physicians to be whole and cared for and feeling fulfilled because I mean there is data that shows that physicians that are burned out have worse clinical outcomes, unfortunately, and take, their patients don't do as well as patients who are not burned out.
And and especially in emergency medicine, with the stresses of the shift work, of the isolation, COVID accelerated it. In the last surveys, 2/3 of emergency medicine physicians reported being burned out, which is a self-reporting, which makes me think that the actual number is actually higher.
Yeah.
It's just, the people that either don't report or aren't even aware that what they're feeling is really symptoms of burnout.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. How does that link with your mission about self-image and how important that is in how we see ourselves and how we carry ourselves? I'd love to hear about
Yeah, so I think for me, when I think about self-image, I have a very global view on it, in the sense that I feel like self-image are all the beliefs and thoughts we hold about ourselves. So that goes way beyond the physical. Of course, because I also have an aesthetics practice, which I find incredibly fulfilling, because again, when we create this space of safety and belonging, women and men, but over 90% of our population is women. They feel free to say, oh, I have some insecurity about this, or my outfit doesn't match that, or I would like to do this. But self-image goes beyond that. It's the fact that I feel like I'm an entrepreneur. I can figure out things. I can do things. That belief, that any belief you have about yourself, and a lot of those are subconscious, right? Like, oh, in third grade, I was not included. So somewhere in there, it's like, I'm not loved. I'm not part of the group. Like, so any of those conscious and subconscious beliefs that you have about yourself are what make up your self-image. So it's not just how you feel about your physical appearance, but it is really, and I think coaching relates to, because a lot of times people, when they come to me as a coach, and I don't know if it feels like when they come to you as a coach as well, like there's a sense of stuckness, right? Of the fact that, well, this is for other people, but it's not for me. I'm just stuck in this job because blah, 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 right? Or this is for, and that's all part of your self-image. The way you feel like about money is part of your self-image. The way you feel about your abilities in any area is part of your self-image. So, I know we have a time limit. I talk an incredible amount of your self-image. All of your self-talk is actually part of your self-image, because it's a reflection on how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself. So every single thought that you have about yourself is part of your self-image. So we talked about things like shame earlier, self-blame, like, right? Those are all things like that you're essentially calling yourself ungrateful, right? Versus somebody who deserves everything she wants. Like, right, so that's like mirror parts of the same self-image. Like, we've essentially decided that we're not worthy to deserve more because we already have what's allocated to us. When we say, oh, well, you should just be happy because you're a doctor, that's essentially sort of a self-image translation that you're saying to yourself, look, you got all that you're supposed to want, so you might as well stop wanting, versus saying you're a human. You have a growth mindset. That's what got you to med school. What's the next thing you want to explore? You deserve anything you possibly want. And I don't mean this in a like, I really mean this in a way that the universe is always expanding. It's always creating more. So I have this belief that really, like, and again, of course, we're all adults, like taking away, like stealing and hurting people and being like malicious. I have this belief that we can't ever take away from anybody, because the universe's energy entirely expands. And there's science that actually proves that the energy in the universe is expanding. So, that sort of thing is all part of your self-image. So I coach a lot around self-image in all of its forms, including, we mentioned a little bit the heart healing certification that I'm finishing, that goes even in the subconscious wounds and the subconscious beliefs that sort of a lot of times in our early and middle childhood were programmed into us. And so many times those beliefs, they're not, I mean, I used to always say they're not the news, but now the news it's not factual, but they're not factual, right? They're not facts. They're
Right.
not science. They're not any of that stuff. They're really just thoughts and belief that we've taken on, like our clothing, like our armor, and build an identity around.
Yeah, I love all of that so much. Yeah, these beliefs that we were taught either explicitly or implicitly growing up in families, cultures, societies, whatever that looks like. If we, depending on if we were raised in a certain gender, what that taught us. And I think I think it's helpful, at least in my own experience and with my clients, to really to recognize it and not try to, we're not trying to do psychoanalysis, but to recognize that those beliefs are there and they helped us for a reason, right? They helped us to get through whatever we needed to get through, whether that's childhood and we were dependent on our caregivers, or we were in residency and we were dependent on our attendings for our grades and for our livelihood. And so we had to kind of put on this armor, this identity or this clothing, like you said, for a certain period of time, but then maybe that armor is not serving us anymore. And can we shed that armor? Can we take off that identity and thank it? Hey, thank you for, and I know there's a lot of internal family systems and a lot of approaches that can help with that, is thanking those parts of us that helped us get through that, and then recognizing that we are so much more. And I couldn't agree with you more about about the energy in the universe expanding. I think a lot of us, and I don't want to generalize here, but from a female physician perspective, I think I see in a lot of my female clients a sense of, well, if I have something, if I gain something, it's taking from somebody else. Kind of like what you said about, well, I should just be happy with what I have, and it's not okay to want more. I mean, and a lot of us, again, we were taught that when we were in our training, that we had to ignore what our body needed. We had to ignore what our souls needed at the time. I mean, even like going to the bathroom, sleeping, eating, those basic needs that we have as humans, we had to ignore a lot of those urges and a lot of those bodily sensations when we were in our training. And so it takes time to relearn that. And it takes a lot of time to kind of understand this is who I am, and this is, like you said, me as a human. I get to want things. We are wired to grow, and we are wired to expand our minds, expand what we're capable of. And I see that a lot in clients that I work with, this sense of like, well, I'm not really unhappy, but I want more and I'm not sure why. And again, that then we can add the shame and the guilt onto that too, even if we're feeling good about our lives. So I love that so much, that you have that approach with your clients and with your patients too, I imagine. That yeah, you get to want more. You get to want things, and it's okay to want things.
Right. And I think that's also, being in aesthetics, sometimes that is also that thing of giving people permission. Like, listen, you don't love the veins on your nose, I can laser them away. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing things just because they make us feel better or they bring us joy, right?
Right.
Like there is this is the whole idea about joy and enchantment, and sometimes we just love what we love, right? Like and there's certain things that our society has deemed okay, like society has deemed that it's okay that I want my hair blonde instead of dark because I feel like it washes me out less. And but there's still this question now, well, but at 44, is it okay for you to want to wear like crop top? Is it okay for you to want to, where's that line? Is it, we say it's okay for you to do makeup, but lip filler, you might be pushing the line, like, right? Like these are stupid, silly rules. Like who made the rules?
Right.
Like, so I feel like in aesthetics that translates a lot to just giving people permission to want to feel about themselves a certain way. And again, that it's okay if you are, let's say, 35 or however old you are. Really, that's not the point. But you look in the mirror and you're like, wow, I feel like these lines are making me look angry and I don't feel angry. Can I do some Botox to get rid of these angry lines? And have me be like, of course you can, versus, oh, you don't need that. It's only for people who insert judgment here, like, right? So it
Yeah.
actually is all like very, very intertwined. And then the last thing I wanted to say about when people come for coaching, for a lot of people, these are like radically new concepts, not only to hear, even if they've heard it, there comes a point where you suddenly embody them. And sometimes just having an awareness and creating an awareness that there is such a thing as a dialogue that is not the truth, or that is just thoughts, feelings, kind of running commentary. Sometimes there's just moments of seeing an awareness, and that awareness, that first step, can already be so transformative for people. I'm not asking you to change your identity at all. Sometimes just seeing that, oh my God, the story that I have in my head, or these thoughts I have about me feeling guilty for getting a massage, that comes from my mom because whatever was happening in your life when you were growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even just sometimes seeing that makes people be like, oh my God. And
Yeah.
that allows it to just like lose its power and dissipate.
Yeah.
Or you have the choice to keep doing it, or just say, you know what, that was really my mom's story. Do I want that to be my story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We have the power to really choose and discern for ourselves what thoughts we will keep and what thoughts we will, again, think if we need to, say, that's not part of my story anymore. And I love that you said that, just the awareness. I think we can get so stuck in our own heads, and we really identify with these stories, and, well, this is just how I am, and this is the way I was raised. And then there could be this sense of, well, am I betraying my family if I don't agree with them on this or feel this way? Can be really helpful to just have an outside person, like a coach, who cares about you and is just witnessing with you and reflecting back and helping to kind of see the forest when we get stuck in the trees. And like you said, it's okay to want things. And when we feel better about ourselves, whether that's physically, emotionally, spiritually, we are amazing people. And the better we feel about ourselves internally, externally, whatever that looks like, the more good we do in the world. And I think that's something that has been really powerful to me over these past few years of coaching as well, is when I am feeling at the top of my game and doing whatever I need to do, um, working out, eating healthy, fixing my hair, whatever that looks like, then I feel more unstoppable than when I have a poor self-image. And so whatever I feel like doing that's within my power and my agency, then I give myself permission to do it, because then I'm going to go and serve more people. And so, and even if I didn't, I mean, I'm a grown up, right? I think I've had those conversations with my clients too. It's like, you're a grown up and you can do these things. You get to do what you want. So, but just reminding people and helping to grow the awareness for that. So, yeah, I love
Yes, and
that.
and again, I think it's a yes and, right? Like we get to do these things and just for the sheer joy of it, because we
Right.
just joy,
Yeah.
and I coach a lot on helping people find their enchantment. Like,
Mm,
because so many people, again, when I was like, well, what do you like to do? They're like, it's like this blank thing. And, I think, that was one thing that I came away with from the retreat I hosted for my team last week. We did some vision setting and some goal setting and some all this stuff. And at the end of the retreat, though, everybody had identified some things, and again, not without me prompting, but just by experiencing, being then like, oh my God, like, for example, one of mine was like, I used to ride horses when I was a kid, and I hadn't been in a horse in like 30 years. And I got to do a horse riding thing for like an hour, and it was the most fun I've had in forever. And I was like, wow, like maybe I should take my daughter and we should go horse riding together. And again, yes, there's wonderful mother-daughter bonding. And somebody else was like, wow, you know what? I really am fascinated like by gardens. And I remember in this other place that I used to live in like 3 states ago, like I had this garden. It was just wonderful. And even if it serves no purpose to
right.
anybody, the
Yeah.
fact that it brings you joy means that it's worthwhile doing.
Yes.
And when your joy increases, your joy, as you said, is contagious. We feed off people's energies. There's a lot of, again, neuroscience behind mirroring and the fact that energies can be transferred. So yes, you will do good in the world. However, even if like nobody benefits, you are worthy to experience so much joy and enchantment. So if that morning cup of coffee in the sunlight done a certain way with your fancy creamer gives you joy, then do that simply for the reason that you're worthy of experiencing so much joy in your life.
Mhm. Yes. Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful. Yes. Um, Thank you so much for being on. I know you have an upcoming retreat that you wanted to share with our listeners in April of next year. So tell us about that.
Yes. So I love retreats because, again, I think it's the permission to really give yourself dedicated time just for you. And in my experience, transformation you can do in a retreat that is well coached in the right setting is just like every time I've done a good one, it's like 5 months worth of coaching, right? So I've just loved that complete immersion and transformation. So, my retreat is really for high achieving women professionals. Does not have to be physician only, because I also want people to be able to invite their dentist friend, their, college friend who's struggling with the same things, who might now be a realtor, right? And we have women from all walks of life, obviously a lot of physicians, we offer CME. And it's really about allowing, like, are you ready to live, love, and have joy in the most empowered way? So it's about getting clarity about the next step of your life, and also inviting that ease and that joy into this next part of life. It's in April. It's at the Miraval, again, because I love luxury and I think everybody deserves luxury. It's CME, and it's going to be beyond transformational. I've asked some of the leading women's empowerment coaches in the country to help coach with me. And I would love to invite anybody who feels like this resonates to come reach out and join us. And as I said, it's a empowerment and leadership retreat. It is a business expense if you own a business. It offers CME credits. So if you're a physician, it's a CME expense. And I'm hoping that will just help people give themselves the permission to really do that for them.
I love that. That's awesome. And so, we'll put links. I know that's on your website. Is that
Yes,
right?
and my
Yes.
website is theaestheticdoctor.com, www.theaestheticdoctor.com. This is trademarked. It's the name of my podcast, and my Instagram is at Dr. Borger, doctor spelled out. And yeah, I love connecting with people. And we have said reach out to anybody, and if that's one of us, like, reach out to one of us. If you really feel like, wow, I'm stuck and I have nobody to reach out, well, there's always
Yeah.
somebody who cares, and you and I are both people that care.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And we'll put links to all of those in our show notes as well. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to spend some time with you, and thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you do in this world.
While I am a physician, the information presented in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult with your own healthcare provider before making any significant changes to your lifestyle or routine. By listening to this podcast, you are not creating a physician-patient relationship. Thank you for listening to the Purposeful MD podcast. If you like what you hear, please rate and review the show. Please also visit my website, www.thepurposefulmd.com, for free downloads or to discuss working with me as your coach.